Good evening, everybody. So bear with me. One, I'm kind of nervous. And two, this is a very personal story, so I'm going to try not to cry, just to be quite honest. My name is Dr. Sesha Joy Moon, and the name of my story is Richmond, Rooted and Rising. I consider myself a daughter of the Commonwealth as I was born in Richmond, Virginia. Can't hear me? Is this better?
Yes.
All right. I consider myself a daughter of the Commonwealth as I was born in Richmond, Virginia. As the former capital of the Confederacy, in addition to being my hometown, it's been home to some of the most divisive periods in history. As a child, I played on cobblestone streets that were once battlegrounds during the Civil War. I passed the grave sites of Confederate soldiers at Hollywood Cemetery on my way to school. I frequented plantations in Jamestown as field trips, just miles from where the first documented Africans arrived on the White Lion at Fort Monroe and Old Point Comfort in 1619. While our state slogan may be Virginia is for lovers, Central Virginia has been a bedrock of hate for 400 years, and the chickens are coming home to roost. This is exactly why I wasn't shocked that my hometown elected a governor who wears blackface, or that it welcomed white boys in tiki torches with MAGA hats on the lawn of an institution that was built on the blood, sweat, and tears of the enslaved, brick by brick. Many don't know this, but with this rich colonial history, 1 in 4 Black Americans can actually trace their roots to the riverfronts in Richmond, as Virginia was a primary location in the triangular trade, with over 350,000 Africans being sold downriver between 1690 and 1860. The Shackle Bottom area served as one of the largest trading hubs in the nation, as the majority of transatlantic arrivals were welcomed along the James River at Osborne Landing and Bermuda Hundred, second only to New Orleans. The enslaved would eventually fight just miles away at the Battle of Malvern during the Civil War, and were emancipated 3 years later as the Union Army captured Richmond, which left it in ruins in 1865. This included those at the city's main holding facility at Lumpkin's Jail, also known as Devil's Half Acre, which later became one of the first historically Black colleges in the country, Virginia Union University. This land also housed the gallows, which was commonly used to dangle Black bodies that were found guilty of leading resistance efforts such as revolts or rebellions. Years later, thousands of formerly enslaved residents attended an Emancipation Day parade on Broad Street to celebrate the 40th anniversary of the proclamation, just blocks from Jackson Ward, which was once known as the Black Wall Street of America and the Harlem of the South. Most of these points in Black history are located now on the Richmond Slave Trail, which was developed as part of the city's urban renewal campaign, which seeks to correct the city's deeply rooted pattern and practice of using urban planning to design segregated neighborhoods. This campaign, which falls under the moniker of RVA, is best defined by its efforts to create a stronger identity for Richmond through community and collaboration. Yet, for all of my city's progress, the area continues to grapple with certain resentments that linger beneath the revitalization. While Confederate statues sit atop marble pedestals with manicured lawns and spotlights at the intersection of Monument Avenue and the newly renamed Arthur Ashe Boulevard, just steps away from the headquarters for the Daughters of the Confederacy, the final resting place of enslaved and freed Blacks is actually forgotten as it sits beneath the shadows of a dilapidated highway underpass in my hometown. However, Black Richmond will not allow the city's problematic past to be swept under a rug with the embellished, shiny RVA logo. For this very reason, a campaign was recently launched called BLK RVA, which celebrates the capital city as a multicultural hub for culture, creativity, cuisine, and community, while recognizing Richmond, Virginia as ground zero for the Black experience in America. The campaign's tagline is Rooted and Rising, because it recognizes that Black Americanism is rooted in history, yet rising in its future, which perfectly complements tonight's theme of 400 years and still we rise. And that is why I'm here today, to use this opportunity not only for storytelling, but for truth-telling, to ensure that the ashes of my ancestors aren't forgotten by censoring their stories and their Blackness, especially those who are natives of a place like Richmond, Virginia, where it's common to lie about lost causes. So today, bear with me as I share some of their names. Maggie O. Walker, a Black woman who became the first woman to charter a bank in the United States. Arthur Ashe, a Black man who became the first and only Black man to win a singles title at the U.S. Open in Wimbledon. Oliver Hill, a black man who became the first black person elected to the Richmond City Council after serving as one of the leading lawyers in Brown versus the Board of Education alongside his Howard classmate Thurgood Marshall. Mary Elizabeth Bowser, a black woman who became a Union spy during the Civil War, even managing to infiltrate the Confederate White House. John Dabney, a black man who became a celebrated caterer and bartender and created the modern-day Mint Julep. Henry Box Brown, a black man who became the first enslaved person to mail himself to freedom from Richmond, Virginia to Philadelphia. A black man who became the first enslaved person to mail himself to freedom from Richmond, Virginia to Philadelphia in a 3x2 wooden crate via wagon, railroad, steamboat, and ferry. Brother Gabriel, more commonly known by his enslaved name Gabriel Prosper, a black man who became the leader of a slave revolt but was eventually executed alongside 25 others. Virginia Randolph, a black woman who became the first educator to develop an in-service training program for black teachers. L. Douglas Wilder, a black man who became the first person elected as governor since the Reconstruction era. Bill Bojangles Robinson, a black man who became one of the first minstrel performers to appear without blackface and the first person to headline a mixed-race Broadway production and perform with an interracial dance team in a Hollywood film. John Mitchell, a black man who became an editor of one of the first black newspapers in this country, the Richmond Planet, which commonly reported lynchings alongside his colleague Ida B. Wells and is credited with the earliest documented reference to the phrase Black Power. The Richmond 34, a group of black men and women from Virginia Union University who were arrested for participating in a lunch counter sit-in in Tallheimer's department store as part of the Civil Rights Movement. Dorothy Irene Height, a black woman who became president of the National Council of Women and the 10th national president of my sorority, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Everett Eggleston, a black man who became the first black person to open and operate a hotel in Richmond, Virginia, on that Black Wall Street of America, who hosted the likes of Louis Armstrong, Count Basie, Red Fox, Moms Bailey, Joe Louis, Jackie Robinson, and Willie Mays. And me, Dr. Sesha Joy Moon, a black woman who straddles between who they became and who I'm becoming, who understands that because of them, I am, who is rooted and rising, who is hella black and hella proud to be from Richmond, Virginia, because home is where the heart is, who has the spirit of not only ancestors of survivors, but thrivers in my DNA, who instead of being ashamed of the stain, leans into the power and the pride of their pain, who has the brilliance, beauty, and boldness of black Richmonders, both past and present in their bones. And so today, I stand before you as my ancestors' wildest dreams. But remember, 1 in 4 black Americans are from Richmond, so today, thank you for listening to our story.